My name is Deborah Thompson, and I am Harriet Tubman. I have the honor of doing chapter 11, Love Nature, from the book, The Harriet Tubman Way, written by Karol V. Brown. And I'm starting off with a quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Even with all our technology and the inventions that make modern life so much easier than it was, it takes just one big natural disaster to wipe all that away and remind us that here on Earth, we're still at the mercy of nature. Neil deGrasse Tyson. When I was just a little girl, I loved being in the woods with Daddy. Where we lived in Maryland, there were swamps, wilderness, and rivers. Daddy showed me how to make bird calls and other sounds that animals in the woods made. Then I could use these sounds to send messages or scare away some other creatures. I could climb trees, slide on my belly, quiet as a snake. When I needed to find something to eat in the woods, I knew which berries were good to eat. I could catch a rabbit and I could build a fire too. Oh, and let me tell you, when Daddy told me about how to know when I am going north, if I couldn't see the North Star, now that was a lifestyle. He taught me to rub my hands on the trees. The moss grows thicker on the north side of the trees. Oh, I tell you, it could be a rough trip walking through the woods with bare feet. You ever seen a sweet gum tree? Well, I tell you, those trees dropped a thorny little seed pod that hurt so bad when you stepped on them with bare feet. Seed pods were even harder when they dried up in the winter. Now, in the summer, the swamps, woods were green, and it was easier to hide. But summer is not the season that I planned my trips to go back to Maryland. Even though the winter was not the time of year most people would think of running away with no shoes and decent clothes for freezing weather, winter is when I planned my trips. Think about it. Look outside at supper time in the summer. What do you see? Plenty of daylight and plenty of folks hanging around visiting. Now, how does it look in the winter? It's darker, earlier, and folks are not outside so much in the winter. So that was the time to get folks traveling in the darkness of a long night. Another thing I knew about when I planned my trips, slaves didn't have to work on Sunday. So I made sure that my party would meet up out in the woods or at a graveyard where nobody would see them on Saturday. We could get a good head start before the masses even knew anyone was missing on Monday or Tuesday. Now, if I hadn't been there growing up as a slave, I might have not have known this was the schedule that I could plan around. I paid attention to what was going on around me. That helped me on all my travels. Daddy worked in the woods for years, and he knew about roots, flowers, and herbs that were good for medicine and taste good to eat. I learned about how to make root beer from the ginger roots. I didn't know the names of all the plants, but I learned fast which plants not to touch because they would cause a rash or make you sick. I knew the purple flowers were good for keeping us from getting sick. I used what he taught me about medicines when I was working as a nurse during the war. That's right. It was the herbs I found that I gave soldiers and freed slaves to help get well from the disease they called dysentery. After folks started traveling with me, they started making up stories about how good I was at being in the woods. I heard them say, Moses can run as fast as a rabbit. She can climb a tree as fast as a raccoon. Moses can hear a patroller dog bark 10 miles away. And you should see her jump over a fence like a deer. I don't know about all that, but I am thankful that I did know how to read signs of nature and to use what I knew to get my people free. Love nature, the Harriet Tubman Way. Take time to smell the roses, the daisies, and the trees. Appreciate what the rain does for the earth. Learn to notice your surroundings. Harriet Tubman, as did everyone during the time she was living, depended on the sun to shine to let them know it was morning. They looked at the changes and colors of the leaves on the trees to alert them to the time for planting and picking. Nature was a part of everyone's life. Harriet was very in tune to her surroundings and she paid attention. She could have just disregarded what her father was teaching her, but she remembered and found this love of nature to be a big factor in her successful travels on the Underground Railroad. Neil deGrasse is an astrophysicist. He became interested at the age of 9 years old. And then at 11 years old, he started studying the stars and I love nature, just like Harriet and Neil deGrasse. When I look out of my window, I see the winter birds, the cardinals, mating in my trees. And I see deer, some of them with spots, just walking up my walkway. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful sight. Now, my creativity is music. So I like to compare music of old and with the new music. This exercise I call old school, new school. Now, the kidnapped people of Africa who were made slaves coded signals out of songs. The Negro spiritual, Steal Away, was one of those songs that was used to mean that the person or persons singing it were planning to escape to freedom. I do not own the rights to this song. Steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. Some music for you. This next song, I do own the rights to. And I wrote this song in homage to Psalm 91, Safe in the Lord, where our Lord protected Harriet Tubman and everybody that was traveling with her, the enslaved people, and he sent his angels also to help protect. So this is the song. All right. The another spiritual, clearly, meaning that the chariot is a metaphor for escaping to freedom. Swing low, sweet chariot. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Now that was old school. I do not own the rights to this music. New school might sound a little bit like this, telling those Harriet's still on. I'll take you there. Harriet Tubman said, come go with me, freedom yeah. Harriet Tubman said, I'll take you there.
All right now.
Now, you might remember this one, Wade in the Water. Harriet Tubman used this song, Wade in the Water, to tell escaping kidnapped peoples of Africa to get off the trail and into the water to make sure the dogs that the slave catchers used couldn't sniff out their trail. People walking through water did not leave a scent trail that dogs could follow.
Wade in the water, children. God's gonna trouble the water.
Oh, yeah. And that was old school, new school. I can only tribute the genius to Harriet Tubman for making sure that all of the enslaved people knew the meanings of these songs to escape to freedom, whom she led people were able to make it north just by knowing the signs. That was chapter 11, Love Nature, from the book, The Harriet Tubman Way, written by Karol V. Brown, brilliantly. Love Nature. I am Harriet Tubman. And thank you so much.